When I was a teenager, my older brother moved out and my parents both worked late, so occasionally I would spend evenings by myself after school. We lived in the country a few miles outside of town and had a good collection of neighbours. The day went as normally as ever. I went to school, got home, turned on the TV, had a snack, and texted one of my friends who I had a crush on. It wasn't long afterward that I noticed a man outside my house. He walked past a few times. He wasn't an ordinary person walking around the block. He looked scraggly and unkempt. I ducked as far as I could behind a chair, still trying to see him out of the living room windows, hoping he didn't see me. But soon, he came to the front door and knocked. I was texting my friend the entire time, increasingly getting freaked out. As he knocked on the door, I stupidly went to answer. I had my phone on me with 911 at the ready. I tried to silently unlock the door to not alert the man. I opened the door a crack. There was a screen door separating myself and the man. I was ready to slam the door and lock it if anything happened. The man looked at me with crazed, paranoid eyes. He had a large dark beard and looked to be late 50s, early 60s. He seemed out of breath and his face drenched with sweat. He was larger too, more the reason to keep my guard. I sheepishly said, "Hello?"
"Please, call the police. They're after me,"
he said in an exhausted, smoker voice. He kept looking at the road and tensed whenever a car would occasionally pass. "Who's after you?" I asked, getting ready to slam the door.
I barely escaped. They were right behind me. Please, can I come inside?"
At this point, I knew to call the police. "Just wait there, I'll get someone to help." My heart was in my throat at this time. I didn't know if this guy was going to try to force the door, so I quickly shut it and locked it. I ran to the back door and locked that as well, as I called 911. My heart was racing and I could barely tell the operator my information, but they said they would send somebody out. It wasn't long until a patrol car arrived, but it felt like forever. The entire time, I kept watching the man, who then walked into my driveway, pacing nervously. The officer got out and proceeded to talk to the man, and they got in the car and left. I have no idea what happened to him, nor if he was telling the truth. He could have been drunk or crazy, but it was genuine fear in his eyes when I looked at him. Something truly scared him, and it scared me too, to think that there could be someone out there that wanted people for whatever reason. So for the crazed, scared man, and whoever he was running from, let's not meet. Disclaimer: this story is told through the perspective of a female. My dad and I went on a weekend motorcycle trip to Maryland from New York to watch motocross racing at a track called Budds Creek. It was an awesome trip. I loved spending time with my dad and watching the racers speed around this insane dirt track. I met two of the all-time greats from that time. If you're familiar with the early 2000s motocross, you'll know who I'm talking about. They always came in first and second in every race. We did the drive back in one go. It was late at night and we were somewhere in southern Pennsylvania when I started getting really cold on the back of the bike. My dad pulled over on the side of the I-95 so I could warm up. Within a minute of stopping, a van pulled up behind us and this older couple got out. The man started talking to my dad, saying they had followed us for some time, and I looked so uncomfortable and I should ride with them in the warm van instead. I remember the man kneeling down and asking me if I wanted the snacks they had in the van, and if I wanted to go to Hershey Park. My dad is a pretty tough guy, and I remember him talking to them in a hushed voice. Probably so I wouldn't hear him threatening them. He told me a few years later that he had told them he had a gun strapped to his hip, and they had better drive away right now before he used it. They continued to try and convince him, but they left after a few minutes. I'm probably out of their preferred range now. But hey, probable child abductors, let's not meet. Disclaimer, this story is also told through the perspective of a female. When I was in my early 20s and living in Chicago, I wasn't making much money. When I found this apartment, it was too good to be true. The top floor of a duplex was 6 rooms for $775 a month. The agent who showed me the apartment stressed to me that the landlords were very religious. I didn't have a problem with that, even if it did sound a little ominous. The landlords were an elderly couple that lived downstairs. They seemed okay at first. When I saw them in the yard, they would smile at me. I took good care of the house. Then when they saw I was having my boyfriend over, things started to get really weird. One day, I was in my office writing. I hear a knock at the door. I open it, and it's the lady from downstairs. Before I can say hello, she says, "Have you ever gotten an abortion?" I shut the door in her face. No thanks. This was a colossal mistake. The house was laid out kind of weird. There was a door at the bottom of a flight of stairs that I thought led to a communal laundry room. But after accidentally opening it once, discovered it led directly into my landlord's living room. I unfortunately learned this the hard way. I was in my kitchen cooking. My boyfriend was at work, and I was by myself, when I heard what sounded like the click of a door. "Okay," I say out loud. "What the fuck was that?" I didn't really make the connection it could have been the door that led into their living room. I walk into the hallway and look around. I don't see anyone at the end of the hallway. I poke my head into all of the rooms. Nobody there. Then I look down the staircase leading to their house, and the neighbor lady is standing there staring me down. I screamed. She flinched and stepped back into her apartment and slammed the door shut. After that, every time I left the house, and I spent every possible moment out of the house after that incident, I would come back and something would have been moved. A window would be shut. Once, the shower was dripping and my towel was damp. I couldn't lock the door because since it was technically a door to their house, they were the only ones with the key. The knocking got so frequent, 3 or 4 times a day, that me and my boyfriend propped up an old mattress so that we wouldn't have to hear it while we slept. The second to last straw was when I opened the door for work and the stairs were gone. I physically could not leave my house because there were no stairs. They had been dismantled and were sitting on the porch. I called the landlords repeatedly, but they didn't answer. Finally, their son came out of the house and explained that they were remodeling their porch. He told me I had to cut through their apartment downstairs. I descended the stairs and opened the door, and they were both sitting at their filthy kitchen table staring at me. The phone was in its cradle. They must have heard it ringing. They kept staring at me with this blank look on their faces. I crossed their kitchen and left out the back door. A few days later, I came home from my job and I noticed the bathroom floor was almost completely flooded, like somebody left a faucet on or the shower on. The old woman, seeing that I'd come home, came upstairs and knocked, screaming at me that I flooded the bathroom and that her son had to come fix it. I was so run down at this point that I just told her it was okay. Her son comes by a few hours later. He is shit-faced. I open the door and tell him that I need an hour or so before he comes, and he picks something up and swings it at me. It was a massive wrench. I somehow duck out of the way and he stumbles over. I book it down the newly repaired stairs as quickly as possible and call the police. They come by and take down a complaint, but claim since there was no physical contact, they can't do anything. I learn later that the old couple has a daughter on the force. In the middle of the night, me, my boyfriend, and several of his friends packed all of our stuff into a Chevy Astro. We lived in hotels and the van for a month until we found another house. Old landlords, let's not meet again. The user made 2 edits after this post. I'm going to file a police report. I don't know why I haven't before. Thanks for inspiring me to do so. Final update. I didn't technically file a police report. They just took down a complaint. Whatever that even means.
I barely escaped. They were right behind me. Please, can I come inside?
Oh fuck, that hurt my throat. Probably so I wouldn't hear him threatening them. Probably so I wouldn't hear them. Probably so I wouldn't hear them. Probably so I wouldn't hear. Probably so I wouldn't hear him vent. Probably so I wouldn't hear him threatening them. Probably so I wouldn't hear them threatening them. Fucking sake. Probably so I wouldn't hear him threatening. The fucking sentence. Right, that's why. It's on fucking 10.5. Put it on fucking 9. There. Much fucking better. Fucking hell. Right. Angry Welsh rabbit dog. I didn't really make the connection. It could have been the door that led to... Stomach, shut the fuck up. I'm hungry too.